Welcome back to the Always Aggressive podcast. Boys, Montana lives it. Head coach Tony Ersland. Boys, we got a lot to talk about this week, partly because we didn't have a chance to talk last week. Mother Nature had something to say.
She had a lot to say.
About 1.5 feet of snow in the course of a couple of days, which put our show on hold. And I imagine put a lot of things on hold. Coach, I'm sure you guys had a chance to get out and shovel and have fun in the snow, but how much does something like that, does the university shutting down for 2 days affect your everything?
It's funny because it didn't affect it. I mean, truly getting around was difficult, right? I can appreciate that. I'm sure everybody's got stories of trying to get around town and shoveling out, but we were able to get in and practice and do what we had to do, clearly, right, as we got ready for Minnesota this weekend. So I felt really good that, yeah, you had to work around it a little bit, but by and large, man, guys got in there and got it done. And I had to laugh, though. I was telling my wife, too, one night, because the freshmen, the brand new guys, right, who are just out of high school, where this is an activity, right? And if you don't have school for the day,
you don't have activities.
Activities are canceled. So, of course, the freshmen are asking, hey, do we still have practice? There's no school. I'm like, listen, man, you're not in an activity anymore. This is not an activity.
Not an extracurricular?
Yes, this is not an extracurricular where your buddy came out just to spend time with you. So, yes, we will be having practice. Watch Teamworks. We'll communicate with you. So we might move some things around there. So that was the one thing that I really chuckled about, because I got that question like, hey, are we going to have practice? It's snow day with Purdue. I'm like, yeah, this ain't an activity, son.
Yeah, that's not how that works.
So I thought I got a good chuckle out of that. But no, our guys were great. It was tough getting around. I mean, I had to pull people out of snowbanks, and what we did just to stay dug out was significant. So I did appreciate the fact that we had our guys at practice, at lifting. Their preparation, clearly, as we got ready for Minnesota, was good. So I was really excited, that we were still able to conduct it business as usual, minus the inconvenience of leaving early and digging yourself out often.
Okay.
I used my snowblower more in 2 days than I think I've used it combined in the last 2 years.
Yes.
Like, we got some snow, boys. That was wild stuff.
Yep.
It felt like it never stopped.
The highlight of those 2 days, by the way, I'll tell this story. I got a picture too. I haven't tweeted it out because I'm not sure I should do that. But the funny story I will tell you, I was out driving around town. This was Thursday morning, and I had my truck. So we had the 4-wheel drive. So Jackson and I were out just surveying town, the damage and what people are trying to do to get dug out. And sure enough, we come driving down Grant Street, and there's these 2 nice young gentlemen being supervised by 2 young ladies digging what I think was the women's car out. However, they were doing it in their Speedos. I'm telling you the truth, and I got photographic evidence, so I can back this up. But there they were, just digging away in a couple of feet of snow in Speedos, nothing else on. And they were Purdue Speedos. So I don't know if they're Coach Ross's young men, or I don't know. And I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but I had to stop and take a picture, because I told them, I was like, this is the best thing I've seen all day, fellas.
I hope they were Coach Ross's guys, or I hope they had done some serious pre-gaming before getting out there. I don't know how early it was.
But it was Thursday morning. It was Thursday morning before 10 a.m.
Maybe it was carryover from the night before then.
So
college.
I will say, out of that Wednesday, Thursday, when we were just crushed by snow, that was pretty funny to see. I got a great chuckle out of that. Light my day.
That's wild.
That's good.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know you want to share that one, but I'll be over later to see it.
Yeah. Don't worry, it's not going anywhere soon.
Oh my goodness. Well, we got through the snow, and while we have had some other things, another nice recent event, Tony and I got to wander out to the men's basketball game last night.
Yeah.
Number 3 versus were they 16? Is that right, Corey?
They were 13.
13, even better. And I don't know if I could say enough about the environment last night, Tony.
Yeah. No, it was awesome. I mean, people talk often, you guys especially, right? I mean, you guys spend a lot more time than I have in Mackey, clearly, but no, that environment lived up to its name and then some. I thought, boy, it was spectacular. And we had a chance to do the national championship game, right, with Georgia earlier this year, and I thought that was tremendous. And this was on a smaller scale, clearly, but every bit of that, from an intensity and environment, situation.
That place got loud last night. My ears are still ringing a little bit, not gonna lie.
Now, the only negative, again, man, I'm getting old because I'm getting up this morning early to get going like we do. That was 9 o'clock. That was a 9 o'clock tip, and I didn't get home till midnight. I convinced me I'm old, because getting up early this morning was a little harder than normal.
It was even worse than that because freaking TCU, I think, whoever was on before us, maybe it was Kentucky. Kentucky went late. So we didn't tip till like 9:13 last night.
Oh, that place was going nuts. They were like dying to get the tip off.
I felt bad for the timeout coordinator because he had 14,000 people wanted to rip his head off. Just hold, nope.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were going nuts. They were rocking to get that thing off.
Yeah.
I have to steal every opportunity I can to talk about basketball. We also got a sneak peek at why Jaden Ivey is a very highly drafted prospect in the NBA in the near future. That second half that he put together was you don't get to see that often.
Yeah.
A guy just take over a game like that.
No, absolutely. I was impressed. And what did he have? Like, was it 4 points in the first half? Like he was relatively quiet, right? I think it was 4.
4 points.
And man, he just went off, and it was fun to watch, right? Like for me, clearly I'm not a basketball guy, but you appreciate, the athleticism and the creativity that somebody like that brings to, a sport, so I had a lot of fun, but between just the competitiveness of the game and where the teams were ranked, him kind of going off was really enjoyable.
It's weird. Like I try, I often, in my mind, because I spent most of my life with basketball and now I'm spending a very solid chunk of my life with wrestling. That is not something you can really see in a wrestling like match or duel, as far as like watching somebody kind of dominate over time like that, because you just wrestle your 7 minutes and then you're done. And then it's your teammate's turn. Right. And so the fact that what was it? He did it over like 6 minutes, 7 minutes, where he just went crazy. Like I told you at one point, he'd either scored or assisted on like 14 straight points or something like that, where he was just taking over the game. And, you said, like, you're not a basketball guy, but just speaking athletics in general, being able to take over for an extended amount of time like that is just unreal. It was special.
Yeah, no. And that's what good competitors do. Right. I mean, you figure out a way to turn it around. And I'm not saying he played poorly. I don't know enough to say that he would play poorly in the first half, but he was quiet with 4. He figured out a way to get his game going, get in the zone and go get his points, right? Which is what we always try to do. And athletics, that's a common theme. You're going to have to learn how to turn around adversity or something going your way, figure it out, turn it around. And I can appreciate that, right? In any competitive contest, the ability to find a way to switch momentum in your favor is a tremendous trait.
Very Devin Schroder versus Brandon Kaler.
Yeah.
Out of Vegas.
Absolutely. 4 minutes of it going against us in the last 3, we totally flipped it in our favor and got it done.
Yep.
No
doubt. So, Corey, should we talk about some wrestling?
I think that's what we're here to do, and there's plenty of good stuff to talk about there too. So,
yeah.
Let's go back.
2 weeks.
Let's go back pre-Snowpocalypse.
Yes.
Almost 2 weeks ago, in that duel down in Bloomington. It came down to it, but
yeah,
that was another great example of, fellas, every single match, every single point matters. You guys get the 17-16 dual win over the Hoosiers to extend that win streak to 12 years in a row.
Yep, 12.
Take us back there. Take us back to that Saturday live on the Big Ten Network.
Yeah. So to go 12 straight, right? That's a nice accomplishment. A lot of guys on that team, Devin, Max have never lost to IU, right? 12 straight is nice, right? That's a strong accomplishment is what I told the team. However, we didn't wrestle our best, and that bus ride home actually was a team that was fairly quiet because they knew they didn't wrestle how we could, right? We didn't compete to the best of our abilities.
Yeah.
Let, as you mentioned, a couple of matches really slip. Like we had a chance to separate ourselves in that duel, and we didn't for whatever reason. And so the first thing I told the team is, hey, I acknowledge 12 straights. Great. You should all feel good about that. You have every right to feel good about that, but just understand that all wins aren't equal. And we've got to really think about where we let points slide and why we didn't perform the way we're capable of and do a better job forward. Like we got to look forward quick because we got another good opponent coming. And I think the team took that to heart. So again, I guess I repeat myself a lot, feel good about the win, but you got to be smart enough to understand that, hey, we didn't really wrestle very well. Right. And I've talked a lot in the past, and I've tried to beat this into the guy's head because it's so easy to do. This isn't a zero-sum game where you win and it's great and you lose and it's terrible, right? That's just not how this works. And that's a clear example as we compare those two duels, how, yeah, we won two duels, but how you feel about each one is vastly different.
Mm-hmm.
I feel great about the IU win, honestly. You know what I mean? I just didn't feel great about it. However, I feel much different in terms of how 10 guys competed at each of those weights, in the Minnesota duel. So that's, without going into specifics yet with individual guys, which I'm sure you guys will, that was just how we really felt as a team about each duel. We knew we had underperformed and didn't kind of finish things against IU, and we did a much better job against Minnesota, just straight competing throughout the lineup.
Yeah. I definitely felt the same way, Tony. Like I said, it's one of those, you walked out of there, you had the win, you were excited about it. Obviously, Purdue Nation was extremely excited about it. We got that incredible video of Devin giving that kid.
That was awesome, by the way. Thanks for bringing that up. That was tremendous.
Very cool.
I'm glad you brought that up again.
For those that didn't see it, maybe Corey can clip it into the show here.
Yeah, we'll put it in right here.
Devin Schroder gave some young man who was wearing an IU hat and IU shirt, a Purdue shirt, and the kid took off his IU hat and put on the Purdue shirt right there at the duel.
Yep.
And so
converting fans right there in the duel.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
Winning hearts and minds. So that was that was a high point. But going back, what I was saying, didn't compete our best. Still found a way to get a win.
Yep.
That is the trademark of good teams. Yep. Obviously, I'm using other sports and stuff, but to use a track term that I got a long time ago from a throws coach, he used to talk about your bottom number. What's your bottom number? And what can you go out and throw on your worst day? You're never going to throw worse than this. This is your bottom. And I felt a little like that for that duel.
Yep.
We won.
Yep.
But we won with our bottom number. We didn't.
Yeah, we weren't as sharp. We weren't as sharp as we could have been for sure. And those are the things, right? They gnaw at you, and it's always been this way. I mean, I think we need to do a better job of it too. Me, but as a coach, you always remember where you lost or where you were short or what the problem was than just the good, right? Like I think that's that way for a lot of people. It's just really easy to remember the heartache and maybe too easy to forget the joy. And so again, that's probably why I thought like, hey, you got to acknowledge 12 straight is really special, guys. Congrats on that. Be smart enough to know though, because we won, we just don't pat ourselves on the back and call all good. We've got to really evaluate what happened, why it happened, and be better. So, yeah, no, I can appreciate it for sure.
Let's talk about some of the guys that made a difference in that duel. specifically start with Devin and Parker Phileas. They were the two guys that went out and got bonus points. Yep. Devin had an 11-0 shutout over Jacob Moran at 125. And Parker's the guy I really want to talk about because he went out and had to run down a major in the third period. Yeah. He got that last takedown inside the last, 10, 15 seconds, and then rode him out to get what ended up being the deciding point. Yeah. Yeah. And so I guess my question for you is that an example of, I hate to bring this up. We look back at the Michigan State duel and it came down to one takedown. Mm-hmm. One takedown flips that result. Yep. And this time we got the takedown. Yep. That one takedown flipped the result for us. And, is that something as a coach you look at and you're like, hey, maybe they listened?
Here's how I look at it. Not exactly like that, but here's where you're taking me back here, right? I feel like the guys who went out just to compete and score points and wrestle the entire 7 did well. The guys who just went out to try to win didn't. You know what I mean? And there's an important difference there in terms of how you compete, because of how you're willing to push yourself, the risks you're willing to take. What's important to you, in wrestling all through all the positions. I think that's huge for people to understand, because Parker wasn't out there just trying to win. He was trying to get as many points as he can to dominate the match, to get to his stuff, to impose himself on the other guy, to do what he's capable of doing. Devin did the same thing because they're that capable, and they did what they're capable of doing. We had a few other guys that went out and we were just trying to win. So you're a little conservative. You hesitate a little bit. You're just trying to get by, and you leave the door open for the other guy to do something that can maybe take the match from you. And that actually happened in two tight matches that we had, where I thought we should have had them go our way and we let them slip. And I think that's just the mentality. Are you just trying to do enough to win, or are you just trying to wrestle? Hey, you're best. I'm trying to wrestle my game plan. Here's my, by this time of the year, we all know what a game plan is, right? Like, the first half of the year, you're figuring out how you want to compete, what your ideal match looks like. By now, that we're in shape, we're making weight, we're closing the end of the year, so that we all have a good idea of what our ideal match looks like. And I felt like we had a few guys that didn't. They just tried to protect something they didn't have. They tried to protect the win that they didn't have, versus Parker, who you're focusing on, and Devin and Panola. Those guys go out, man, and they wrestle their match. By and large, they just wrestle their match. And I think a lot of guys need to take note of that. And it's not about the win or the loss. We just talked, they're not all built equal, right? We can feel great about Minnesota and be like, oh, with Indiana, we didn't wrestle great. So focus on the performance and not on just the result. And that was the main thing. I'm not sure that's what you were thinking when you asked that question. But that's where I land on it. We got to focus more on just getting everything out of the match we can, not just trying to win.
Tony, I have learned that when I ask you questions, it's more of a buckle up and see what happens, as opposed to like, oh, I'm gonna tee him up to say this. I all bets are off. I think we get that now, right, Corey?
Yes.
Yeah. It's a given. So you're good. Two other guys who had big wins in the IU duel stepped up for us. Cooper Norrie.
Yeah.
Was filling in for Kendall Coleman, who was sick, non-COVID related illness.
Yep.
I believe is how the official statement goes, Corey.
That is what goes in the logbook. Yes.
It's funny. Yes. You have to actually say to people like, oh, no, it's not COVID. Yeah.
Yeah.
But and then Hayden Lowry stepped up and got a nice win at 165. And those, they were both tight matches, and they gutted out some wins. Cooper is especially noteworthy because he had previously lost to the guy he wrestled when they were in high school.
Right. Yeah, it's that's important. I think being shorthanded with Kenny out, Cooper had a chance, and he did a nice job. You know what I mean? It's a split decision for me on him too, right? Like I got to acknowledge, hey, he filled in when we found out Kenny wasn't going to be able to make it. You know, made weight, went out and competed hard, and got a win. He's one of those guys at the end. He started trying to protect the win a little too early. Remember, and he put himself in a tough spot, right? But he held on to win. So
yep.
And it's, hey, nice job. You pat him on the back. He filled in and he did a great job because he's capable. And I want to say that too. Like Cooper, man, Cooper can be tough, right?
Yeah.
You know, Cooper can be really tough. And I'm glad to see him get a chance and make the most of it. I do want him to know, right? Hey, keep going. Keep going. You're better than just hanging on to win. Like extend the lead. Keep going after the kid. Like really impose yourself. So proud of him for what he did. And at the same time, like, hey, let's get more. Let's be greedy. You know, let's do that. So, but yeah, no, it's loved. Like I said, we know Cooper's capable. In our room, you watch him scrap with our guys. We expected him to fill in and get that win. You know what I mean? That was and he did. I'm sure he expected it too. Mm-hmm. As you said, guy he'd faced in high school, and he turned the result around. So proud of him.
So like you said, 12 straight over the Hoosiers.
Yep.
It's I think it's I believe, Corey, correct me if I'm wrong, it is the longest active win streak for any Purdue program over that school down south.
Volleyball might have a beat.
I don't think so.
No?
I don't think so. 2010. I think they're 2014.
But they play them twice a year. So that's what I'm thinking.
So it might be more matches.
Yeah. Yep.
It's
You're thinking in terms
matches,
of years, and he's thinking in terms of matches.
Yep.
Yep. I got you.
Well, you guys don't wrestle. I mean, you wrestle them almost every year.
We do. It's mandated. We see them every year.
Yep.
Once a year.
It's built into the schedule. So,
yep.
Let's move along to, like you said, a more joyful win that we had on Sunday, beating then, depending on what poll you're looking at, 14, 16 ranked Minnesota in our place.
Oh, I think 11 when we beat them, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, were they as high as 11? Maybe like I said,
they were 11 coming into the week. I know they've now fallen down, you know, a few after their loss to us, but they were 11 going in. An awesome night. Obviously, we celebrated our seniors. Devin and Max got their second senior night after doing it last year. Michael Wolf, Alec White, Nate Cummings, Ethan Smiley, and Emil Sunland all picking up their degrees and doing what they set out to do when they came to college, and appreciate all of their contributions to the program. Yeah, no, man, good group of guys. Really enjoyed coaching those guys throughout their career, and a smart group of guys. Like if you go back and look at the number of all Big Ten honors and who they are kind of as students too, like, I mean, that's a pretty sharp group of kids right, who are going to do well in life. And they've been a big part of helping us kind of keep growing this program and where we're trying to go. So really appreciate their hard work in the classroom and in the practice room with their teammates. So they've been a part of a lot of great things at Purdue.
Specifically, let's talk about two of those guys. Max Lyon went out and beat a higher ranked wrestler, sneaking out a 4-3 decision over Isaiah Salazar. Max wrestled Max's match. He, gave up an early takedown and found a way to get one back and find the difference there.
Yeah, Max, we've probably said this before, right? Always dangerous. He will always be in the match. You know, he's been a little short on some situations, and you just keep correcting and you keep showing up, and Max will always do that. You know what I mean? Like he's always going to show up, give us his best. And he will be better going into the Big Tens because he'll get better as he has chances to correct some of these things. So, but excited as a senior, last time in the building for him to go out in that way over, as you mentioned, a good quality opponent.
That takedown that he had at the end of the second period when he finished on top was really slick. And he finished clean and he finished fast. Yep. And I mean, that was a great example of what we teach, if I'm not mistaken, and I don't know wrestling, but I know, I hear what you guys say about finish on top, 20-second goes, all those, that coach speak as far as, and that's what Max went out there and did. He found a way in the last 10 seconds of that period to get two and not give up one.
And he's been working on those finishes. You said finished fast, right? And that's the key. If you go back and look where he's been a little short, 'cause he's in all of these matches, right? Like we sit here and talk about how incredibly deep the Big Ten is. Like they may send 13 guys to nationals, and we've talked about the 14. They might.
I strongly believe that they will.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm saying it now for those out there. Big Ten is getting 13 guys at 184.
Right. So he's been wrestling great competition all the way through. And I'll use the Braunagel match just kind of as that's one where he was he's on his legs several times and we didn't finish, right, from a particular situation. And he's been working on it. He was even in yesterday working on it. I still had him off day. They just had
even though we told him not to.
Yeah. I told him, I'm trying to freshen his body up. So I told him, go hard. He couldn't wrestle a lot. It's like today, hey, we're gonna just drill technique and just let the body freshen up because he goes hard every day and he could have used a day just freshen up. But it's those little things, right? Like he's on Braunagel's legs all match and got stalemated out too many times, right? And that's the difference in winning those tight matches and losing. So I feel really good knowing that, hey, we're going to get everything and it's going to be getting that finish, right? If he gets the finish, he turns all of those, really close losses back in his favor. And he knows that. He believes that. So excited for him and he can see the difference now in turning that into a good win versus that close loss, that heartbreak, maybe like a Braunagel match.
Other senior, Devin Schroder, went out, got his biggest win of the season. And, he beats then ranked number 9, Patrick McKee, and a huge resume booster for Devin as it wasn't a close one. He dominated that match.
Yep. And again, right, you talk about creating your situations. He wins kind of what turned into a scramble, right? Like it was his leg attack to start, but it turned into a really good scramble where he comes out on top with the 2, but moves immediately, right? Transitions right to capturing the wrist and capitalizes with his top game, getting a 2-point near fall, right? And that really, opened the match in his favor. So, again, really proud of him. And to mention, late when that match, McKee's trying to reinsert himself in that third period, he wins another scramble late to finish on top. Just goes to show you if you wrestle through every position, you're going to be fine. He wasn't trying to protect. They were just wrestling.
No, McKee hit a nasty inside trip.
Yeah. It was just 2 guys wrestling, and Devin didn't stop wrestling. If he had stopped wrestling, we'd give up the 2 maybe. But stop wrestling. We kept wrestling through the position and actually scored to end the match on top the way you should. So, again, really happy that those guys as seniors, they're wrestling well, and they contributed in a huge way to a
now he's in West.
Corey, you were calling that sequence on the Big Ten Plus stream there, and I had to think you and Craig had to think Devin was dead to rights there.
Yeah, I definitely thought so. It was a sick inside trip, but when you go back and watch it, we watched it on replay during the broadcast. And I went back and watched it a couple times after. Devin immediately dropped down into a counter attack. Went immediately down to McKee's ankle, I believe.
Right leg.
Hold on to something and ride it out. And it was, it was the second time he'd done that during the match. Like you said, that first period scramble that turned into a 4-point move, which I thought should have been a 6-point move. But
yeah, me too. We're greedy.
So we won't go
greedy.
On the replay
there.
Corey, you watched the replay though, and I'm gonna say it was 2.
You shut your mouth. Come on.
I'm going to say
shut your mouth when you're talking to me.
By that 4th swipe. So okay.
But no, I think that's a huge, and we're going to talk about this today, right? Like just wrestling through positions at practice, right? Like competing again, wrestling through. Don't just try to win. Just wrestle the situation the way you think it needs to be done. As soon as you start thinking about winning and losing in the moment, man, it slows you down. Like just compete all the way through and wrestle each position to the best, the way you can.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Tony. I'm usually wrong. So Matt Ramos is probably the best on the team at doing it. He gets himself in some funky stuff that he can get out of.
So Matt is a great competitor. And I'll always pick on things, right? Like I'd love to see more offense out of him, right? Like he scored the first leg attack, nice high crotch finish. I'd love to see that. Again, greedy. I'd like to see it in all three periods. Right. And really build that lead. But you are right in that, man, he's going to compete all the way through. It may not be exactly the way I want it because I want him on a guy's leg more and more and more. And hey, stay on his legs. But he gonna fight. He's going to scramble. He's going to wrestle through everything.
And he ain't giving up that too, unless he has to.
He just seems to be the one that I remember most this season, who I'm pretty sure the other guy's about to score, and then some voodoo happens, and Matt's got the better position. I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah. We'll take it, whatever.
Yeah. Well, and the selfishness in me just wants him to make it easy on me, right? Like you can see I got a lot of gray hair. This is white.
Yes.
And he's hard on me because he's got that one takedown and he's scrambling his tail off like 5 times. As I call it, dodging a few bullets. And so I'm
like
on
the Matrix
there, and I just want to make it easy. Like just take him down 3 more times and be up by, we're looking at the major.
Right.
Yeah. So that's probably me being greedy, but I do, hey, Matt, he's going to go out and compete and do his best to find a way, to win the situation. And so I love that. And at the same time, I want, hey, let's keep attacking. Let's try to dominate, not just win. Let's dominate.
I think the other thing there is pragmatic because, that type of stuff can work a lot. It's going to work less when you're wrestling top 5 dudes. So you're going to see a couple of those at Big Tens. Let's not roll the dice as much.
Yep. No, there's no doubt.
Other key wins in the duel. We just talked about Matt Ramos. Knocked off then 27th ranked Jake Gliva. Parker Filius went out and handled business against Marcos Polanco, who was filling in for Jake Berglund, who I believe was injured at Michigan.
Yep.
Hayden Lowry. We brought up this name before, but man, as the guys say, Hayden Lowry. He has been stringing together He's stringing together some good wins.
Yeah. Like what he's doing, he's beating some very solid people and showing signs that man, he can really be dangerous at Big Tens, like his progression from where he got put in, around Iowa State, back in December has been noticeable, and proud of him from, first time in the lineup for him this year as a regular. And you can see the progression coming. You can see him, figuring some things out. So yeah, excited for him as we move into the last, month of the season. I mean, truly, he's got us excited for what he can do in a bracket.
For sure. Thomas Pinola, another really solid win. He put some highlight reel stuff together in that match against Michael Foy, and really want to talk about Tom's energy after the win. You guys always say that Tom likes to party on people. That's the going term around the locker room. But it's just a guy who, like you said, wrestles hard, wrestles through every position, wrestles to score points. And while I don't know that he focuses on the winning, he definitely enjoys it.
Yeah. No, I love it, right? Because that emotion is infectious, as you said. Like, you'd like to see more of it, right, up and down the lineup. we've got guys who do a lot of winning and compete well, but I love like his energy. You can tell like he puts a ton of work into it, right? Like how he lives his life is significant, right? In terms of who he is and how he competes. And so to see him kind of celebrate that when normally he's just such a quiet guy, like he's not in practice partying every day. Like that's not him. My man's in there head down grinding, and I'm not going to see that emotion from him again until the next time he competes. Right. But that's why it's so enjoyable, right? Like that's why you love it so much. And when you see guys, get, earn things like those hard fought wins and what they're doing, man, you really enjoy it too. You love seeing it. And so I'd love to see it more from different guys, honestly.
Yeah, no doubt. I was joking with Tom about it this week earlier and was just saying how I think it's so out of character. Like you said, he's a very stoic guy, doesn't say a lot, doesn't, not a big excitement guy, day to day. But man, when he finishes off those wins, he is fired up. Yeah.
And he's been finding a way to get 2 points, right? Like, again, like that, if people don't follow Minnesota, Foy, who he wrestled, difficult guy to score on. I've watched him with guys like Schultz, who are ranked number 2 in the country, not score a takedown on that kid in 7 minutes. You know what I mean? And so for him to hit some of the things that he did was really nice. Like I have a real appreciation for technically how he performed in some of those matches against a guy who had been difficult to score on for some guys.
One last thing about the Minnesota duel. We had a pretty cool opportunity to have, unfortunately he was wrestling for the other team, but an Olympic gold medalist wrestling in Holloway Gymnasium in Gable Stevenson. And, it was crazy. He's just walking around like he's a normal dude, which of course he is, but like he, I don't know how many pictures he took with fans from both sides, but was very gracious and stopped and took them all. And, hats off to our guy, Michael Wolf, who went out there and towed the line with them and gave everything he had. And as Vegas said, didn't give up 6.
Yeah. Yeah. No, listen, what Gable's doing, like he's just that good. You know what I mean?
He's unbelievable.
And right. I mean, you gotta give him a tip of the cap. What he's done the last year or two is tremendous. And so you just got to tip your cap to him. I enjoy watching him. I'm not, obviously as a coach, you can say I'm a fan of the sport, but you're not really a fan, right? Like you're figuring out how to beat people but you watch him and you have an appreciation, right, for how he's competing right now and the confidence that he has when he steps on the mat is fun to see. And I think a lot of people should be paying attention, meaning, guys who aspire to do great things in this sport should see, hey, the confidence that he competes with is noticeable. And that's a big deal, right? Like how you view yourself and the authority with which you wrestle is important. And he wrestles with authority. Yeah. That's what I love about him. There's no halfway, half in. Like when he's hitting something, it's hard and it's all the way, so enjoy that. And at the same time, I will tip of the cap to Michael for going out. Honestly, I think he enjoyed it. I have not specifically talked to him about this, but just knowing Michael, I think he wanted the opportunity to get in there and test himself. Like, can I get to my position? Can I get there and get something going? Like he wanted that opportunity to test himself. And I thought Michael looked like while he was out there, like he was, hey, I'm going to enjoy this. Nothing to lose. Let's just see what can happen. And that's on guys. You don't want guys scared, right? Like even with Gable, knowing what he's done, you don't give a guy so much respect that you don't go out and do anything or you wrestle scared, and that wasn't the impression that I got from Michael or anything. Michael was going to go out and, hey, let's try to do something here. What can I do? Let's see how I can get to a position or two. And that's what you want. Don't give a guy so much respect that you're scared and you're, just, a passenger out there. Take control or try to take control as best you can, as difficult as it might be.
I think that's the best way to put it. He wasn't scared. I agree. You don't often see, I'm with you. I think there was almost a smirk on Michael's face at the end. You know, you don't see that often after an 18-2 loss.
Yep.
But I told Tanner this yesterday. He disputed my time forecast a little bit. I said, you know, for about a quarter of a second, Mike had him in that body lock, and it just looked like, okay, we might see something big here.
Yep.
And Tanner said, no, I think it was more like an 8th, maybe a 16th of a second. But, you know,
well, yeah.
He went out there and competed.
Yes. And Tanner's point, right? You never know how these things are going to pan out at the end of the duel, right? Like that was, what was that, number 6 in terms of matches? So we still had, you know, that match, you know, 4 to go. And so you don't know if that's going to be the deciding point, right? He didn't give up the fall, and that could have wound up, we won 18-16, I believe. But
18-14.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. But yeah, you don't know at that point how the duel is going to play out. So, and I think Corey said earlier, every point matters, and he would have saved us a point in there. And that's a good thing.
Right. 18-14, but you know, we won 3 of the last 4 matches by decision. If any of those flips, that's the duel.
Yep.
So yeah. One quick note on Gable. What I loved and what I think is so instructive for not every wrestler can be as good as him. Okay.
Yep.
Every wrestler can try and be as good as him, but I don't think he scored the same way twice. He went through a bunch of different techniques in that match. It was really neat to see that, okay, I can do this now. Okay, I'll do this tilt. Okay, now I'm going to jump over you and run around behind. Instead of running around behind, I'm just over you and get the 2. You know, try different stuff. Learn different techniques. A lot of guys will master one thing, and that's what they're great at.
Yeah. He's got a large toolbox in terms of skill sets, right? You know, he's capable of doing a lot of things, and you know that is part of what you appreciate about some of these great wrestlers. You know, whether it's Gable or you watch a David Taylor or Jordan Burroughs. You know how, you know.
Yep.
So it was like I said, I don't consider myself just a straight fan. You know what I mean? It's not where we're, but you do enjoy watching competitors like him. You know, really show what they're capable of.
So in the aftermath of the Minnesota duel, it had me looking at rankings in a variety of ways.
Of course you would.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of my thing, right?
Yes, of course you would.
And, you know, it's first and foremost, you know, doing rankings is a very thankless profession. It's a lot like being a ref, right? Like nobody's calling you and being like, man, you did a great job on those rankings this week. I mean, you nailed it. Like you know, what a great job. Or thanks for ranking my guy there. Really appreciate you know, taking notice of the work he's putting in. Like those guys do not get those phone calls, right? What they get are the phone calls. If they get one of those phone calls, they got the other coach whose kid got bumped down calling on the other line, right? Exactly. So they, you know, so hats off to those guys for taking the time to do all this, right? But what I did yesterday is I played a little trick on not really a trick, but on Tony and Corey.
It's a trick. It was a trick.
Okay. We can call it a trick. I took several teams and or wrestlers, and you know, these are teams and wrestlers that have all faced each other. And I just put the results of those packages. But what I did is I switched all the names. I made it blind. I threw NBA teams on one thing, and I threw NHL teams on another thing. And I handed them to them, and I said, okay, rank these teams based on the information you have in front of you. And watching their heads spin was pretty funny. But you know, love to hear from you guys as far as like when you take the name off, when you take away, you know, the preconceived notions about the teams or wrestlers in front of you, like how did that kind of like work for you guys internally?
Yeah, I think for me, it makes it almost easier because you don't clutter your mind with the other stuff. Like what you said is you take the name and the singlet and the team and all this stuff, right? And it's worth mentioning, you gave me one that was a team, right? It was team results, and I didn't know that. You gave me one that was actually individual wrestler results at a certain weight. And yes, it's still difficult because there's a lot of going around, but what I do feel like still is it decreases clutter in your head, where sometimes you overthink things, right? Like too much information, paralysis from analysis is almost where I land, right? Like you give me too much and now you're like, oh man, you're overthinking it. You're going around and around. And when you just say, hey, here's what it is, and here's the capitals and this team, it does simplify it to an extent. I'm not saying it makes you get it right or better. Mm-hmm. I did think that it helped simplify it to me, where, I could appreciate it. It was a good exercise to do. At first I was like, Tanner, don't waste my time. How long am I, I think I literally said that to him. I'm like, Tanner, how long is this going to really take me? And he's like, no, this won't take too long. Look at this. You know what I mean? Because he's the one thinking about rankings. And and right now I don't care. Now, when we get to the Big Tens and the seedings come out, I'm going to care. But I was like, how long is this going to take me? He's like, it won't take long. When I got done with it, it was interesting. In fact, when you just kind of clear the clutter and just take a straight record and you don't know who they are because they're fictitious names, how it pans out was interesting to me.
Corey?
I totally agree. I love the blind resume test. Some of the, sometimes the sample size is a little bit affecting. I thought it was wild. I like the team one better than the individual one, actually, because more limited data was still good for that one. One thing I just lost my train of thought. I suck. No, I thought it was fun. I didn't think it was a terrible waste of time. I thought it was, maybe a moderate waste of time, which is fine.
Right. So just to peel back the curtain for people a little bit, one of the two the first of the two exercises was teams 12 through 19 in last week's Intermat team rankings. And the second one was 6 different wrestlers at 125 pounds in the Big Ten. And I'm happy to send the blind thing to anybody who wants to see it. I put one of them on Twitter if somebody wants to say
one was on Twitter.
One was on Twitter if you want to go find that and check it out and have a good time. But it's again, I think it shows that some of the preconceived notions that people have nationally based on whatever, maybe it's based on they have a really good wrestler on their team, or maybe it's based on the color of the singlet that they wear, or, there's a lot of things out there. But when you take the names off, you take the colors off, and you just throw, random names on it, I think it really changes the way you look at it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No doubt.
Agree,
even though I hate looking at rankings at this time of year.
Yeah. You hate looking at rankings, period.
Yes.
I've got 2 trains of thought. I'll limit them to one because I know we're getting long here. It's funny that you say that, Tony, because that's a pretty typical coach thing to say. No offense, a little cliche. Rankings don't matter, but like you also just said, seedings do. Seedings matter a whole ton when it comes to Big Tens and NCAAs. And a lot of times those are built up over resume, but also from your rankings. So how do you sort of balance that in your head?
Yeah. I mean, you can't discount, right? When I say, hey, I hate looking at rankings, I don't mean that they mean zero to me, because there is some value in different things. One of them where I get a little fired up though too is like recruiting, like perception. Tanner's smiling because he knows, ultimately our guys are going to toe the line and they're going to get a chance to settle this. And that's what I love about it. Like, you're going to get a say in this. Somebody's opinion isn't going to matter because you're still going to be on the mat. But when we talk about recruiting, that's where I feel like these ranking services, they've got some responsibility get it right or as best as they can, right? When I say get it right, it's an opinion, but there's a perception, right, about what it is. You know what I mean? So that's when I get a little upset is if somebody's, way off, in my opinion, on their process of how they landed where they're at. That's when I get upset, because there is going to be an effect from a recruiting standpoint or how you're approaching certain people with it because of the perception. Little different in terms of when you're talking seedings, because at the end of the day, I know our guy is going to put his foot on the line. He's going to get a chance to compete, and he's going to have a huge say in it, where that's not always the same in, let's say, recruiting battles or those things, where teams could simply be getting ranked higher because, like as Tanner said, the color of their singlet doesn't matter how their year's going. They're going to get the benefit of the doubt because of, maybe tradition or history or whatever. And so that's where I think, I separate it out. Certainly there's still an effect, on seedings when you get in a bracket. And that's why, you tell the guys with the RPI and how you qualify for nationals, right? There's win percentage, there's RPI, and there's coaches rank. That's where every match is important. That's where we land in, hey, when we compete, everyone is important and we're going to compete hard every time out. That's where you got to be, because then if you do that, you'll live with the rest, you can live with the rest of it. So it's a mixed bag for me. I can't control seedings. Our guys can't control seedings. There's going to be biases. There's going to be whatever. So why would you worry too much about that, right? Like the old adage of control the controllables.
Yep.
Okay, let's spend our time and our energy there, because at the end of the day, I can't control a seed. Let's just focus on making our own luck when we put our foot on the line. And so I understand what you're saying, Corey, and I can't deny like those things have impacts for sure, right? Those things can have impacts, but I can't worry about it to that extent. Neither should our guys.
Yeah. That makes sense.
We had some more stuff, but like Corey said, I think we're running a little long.
Yeah.
And I thought Tony's last statement is profound enough to maybe leave it there, Corey.
I agree. Next week, we'll preview the Northwestern duel throughout the season. And I know we've got another round of coaching rankings coming out, right? And
the RPI.
So
first RPI comes out this week.
That's true. The first RPI is out tomorrow?
Tomorrow, I believe.
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting to really see, right? For us coaches, that's more data.
Yeah.
That's not an opinion, right? Like that is a data-driven thing.
Just numbers.
Yeah, opinions don't factor into that. So I am always interested to see where those RPIs end up for people and who they've wrestled.
We'll dig down into that next week. Until then, fellas, thanks. It was great. Boiler up.